Hey, and welcome to HangOutlander. I make the same we're live face every time. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, you missed my hey, we're live because I make the same face every time, no matter what.
But if you look at this, if you look at this YouTube video before I get the new image up, which will be like a good 24 hours, you can see that face because it's always like the thumbnail image.
Always. I don't know why I do that. Anyway, doesn't matter. Hi, I'm Beth, and welcome to HangOutlander. We are going to be discussing tonight the inimitable episode 307, Creme de Menthe, that if you look at the comments on our site and the people that have been talking to us about this episode, it seems like everyone hated. I don't know that I necessarily hated it, but we'll get into all of that later. If you're joining us via YouTube, hopefully Becca can monitor those YouTube comments. If not, and you're on Twitter, use the hashtag HangOutlander so that we can actually follow the conversation so that everybody can see who's talking to us, and we can talk back to you. Because tonight it's just the three of us. Courtney may pop in, but we're not really sure. So she's in Italy, and it's like 2 a.m. there. So if her alarm went off and she makes it, and she might pop in later, that'll be great. Otherwise, it's just the three of us, and we need you guys. We need you guys to liven up this debate about this episode. So join us. Tell your friends. Literally, tweet your friends right now and tell them.
Tell them to join us on camera. It'll help.
Yeah. Hashtag HangOutlander. How about this? Maybe you'll win the sweepstakes. Maybe the gift this week is that next week you get to be on camera with us. And then the week after that, you get to take over HangOutlander. This is the new prizes.
That would be such a gift.
It will be, Merry Christmas to me, for real. Everybody else say hello.
Okay, I'll say hi. Hi.
All two of you.
I know, there's a big group. We're going to have to fight over it. I'm Becca. I am here drinking a glass of red wine. Just trying to keep that energy level high. It's not going so well. But I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Emily, for joining us. This was last minute and not intentional. We just normally have like our general reviewer crew doing these Outlander chats, and Beth and I realized today that nobody signed up and nobody was available. And not only were they not available, they were not like willing to like put their plans on the side for an hour to join, because this episode was one of those ones that you can't. So literally we're like digging deep. Like Courtney, who lives in Italy, was going to join us. She might still, I hope she does, but she probably just didn't wake back up or whatever. So yeah, we're glad you're here. I will be trying to man that, as well as looking at Twitter. Beth will help on Twitter as well. And as always, chat with us on the YouTube chat in the live feed there, or use hashtag HangOutlander, and we will pick a winner, someone who's just participated with us throughout the chat, to give some sort of, you know what I'm going to give away this week? Because I've got a bunch of them sitting on my desk, and I really want to mail these out. I'm going to give away this book. You guys want this book? This is from Diana Gabaldon. She wrote Outlander. You can win this week. If you interact with us. If you already have it, that's fine. We'll give you something else. But get excited because I want to clean my office. Emily, say hello.
I'm Emily. I have no life, so luckily was available.
What does that say about us, Emily? We're here every week.
Exactly.
Here, so just living the dream. I wasn't a huge fan of this episode, but I'm chugging a glass of creme de menthe, trying to get in the mood.
I hope you really are.
Is creme de menthe, is it absinthe?
It's mint flavored.
Yeah, I just assumed it was like a mint liqueur.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a mint liqueur.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's green though. I don't know. I've never had it.
Yeah, it sounds disgusting.
Yeah, it sounds like something you'd use as a mixer or something, not like a.
I've had ice cream flavored like it, and it was just mint flavored. So yeah, whatever.
I'm going to go with Emily's tagline, which says, skip to the turtle soup already. If we're going to have to talk about Outlander kitchen recipes every episode, I'd rather just talk about the turtle soup. Let's just get there. That's the only one I care about.
We can continue talking about alcohol for one. Emma, on the chat says that it's like Bailey's except mint flavored. So like maybe a cream liqueur. Oh, that makes sense. Creme, like.
Oh, it's a cream liqueur. That is
that sounds
disgusting.
disgusting. Oh,
Awful. I once vomited up a White Russian on the subway tracks in New York City.
Oh, God.
So I don't drink
That's
Bailey's.
terrible.
So since we're talking to people online, Diana Anderson at Lady Anderson 1, she says she still wonders how they're going to speed through the rest of Voyager in only 6 episodes. Can it be done? #hatchet job. And I just keep thinking
She did that? Or you added the hashtag?
No, she did that. Good job. Diane. That is a good question. Like, I know how they're going to do it. Like, I know what the episodes look like, but at the same time, like this episode, and it's kind of a lot of people's concern about the episode, this particular episode seems like they cut things strangely and put it together very strangely, and focused on things that kind of don't matter as much. And so it seems like that's kind of what's probably going to happen. Yeah, they're going to be cut down. Things are going to kind of move quickly, and you're going to be like, oh, they got through that really fast. And because of that, like, it makes things like Jamie and Claire being mad at each other seem worse than it should be, or than it is in the books, because it's condensed. And also they stay mad for a whole episode. Otherwise they'd be mad and then be having sex, be mad, be having sex within an episode. Does that make sense? No. Okay, here's what I mean.
I mean, it does, but I'm not listening because I'm trying to tweet. Okay, I'm sorry. Go back.
What I mean is, like, okay, one of the biggest complaints about this episode, when we get into it, is that like they're tiffing, like they're fighting with each other, and they've only been together for 24 hours. Whereas in the books, they have like a lot more like afterglow time. They spend more time like having sex and talking about Bree and all this other kind of stuff. Well, to actually get the book condensed into these episodes, they had to have an episode arc. And to do that in this one, they had to have the Creme de Menthe thing. They had to have a reason for Jamie to leave Edinburgh, for them to leave together. So the print shop has to burn down, and you have to kind of like establish the smuggling aspect of why he's leaving, and like why young Ian's going to end up being at the docks and all that kind of stuff. So they did like put all of that stuff out there. And at the same time, I guess they felt like they had to like have tension between the two of them. And that's really kind of like, the tension had to be there kind of the whole episode. Otherwise they would have been like fucking and then fighting, fucking and fighting. And then it's not 50 Shades of Grey. They don't fuck and then fight, fuck and then fight. Like there's long stretches of like happiness and then like disorder. So I don't know. I feel like that's going to be like that a lot. They're either going to be happy with each other for a whole episode or mad.
I just think there should be some sort of in between. Like, I don't need them to be having sex every other second, but when he's like, oh, jumping ahead a little bit, like, you're going to come back, and he tries to hold her hand, and she's like, yeah, whatever, I got to go, and kind of just, like, pushes him off. You could at least get a hug in there. I mean, if I've only been back with somebody for 24 hours, like, you want to touch them, make sure they're real kind of thing. But
exactly.
Yeah, it was a little lacking on that front.
It felt... I'm sorry that I have a huge cat in front of this. Actually, I'm not sorry at all about this. But it felt very like the story moved forward, right? There was stuff happening.
Yeah.
But something about it just felt like they were reading lines from like a play. I would say like the chemistry was just not really there between like Claire and Jamie. They just seemed to be not getting along. But then there were other great moments, like Fergus stole the show. I mean, and Ian too. And like Ian with the prostitute, she was a prostitute, right? Or was she just like a maid?
She's a tavern wench.
Tavern wench. Okay. Did he pay her, or that was just like
it was free? She even tells him it's free.
Oh, she did? Okay. See, I was making a roasted tomato soup, so I was a little busy. But yeah, I think there were some really great moments there, but overall it was just like, okay, like, and you think that all that stuff was necessary just to establish them leaving Edinburgh? They couldn't just decide like, we're gonna leave.
Yeah, I could have done without the whole thing. To be honest,
it was very plotty. Like there's a lot going on. Like you have to establish Sir Percival, and he's got this henchman, and that henchman's going to come back, at some point. But like, they romanticized the print shop so much that they had to make this big display of the print shop burning down. And so, yeah, young Ian had to spend time in the print shop with this tavern wench. Otherwise, they were only in the print shop for literally the reunion, and that's it. And they never went back there. And they made this huge convoluted set for no reason, and they romanticized this big thing. And you know, watch Jamie has to watch it burn. So like that had to be there. And I'm kind of glad it was, but at the same time, like, again, it's like the problem that we have with season 2, where they're just not focusing enough on the way Claire and Jamie as a fantasy relationship, as like this ultimate thing, this thing that made her go back in time and leave her life. They're not selling it as being the love of their life that it should be. And it would have been simple. Like, it really would have been easy enough as like a hug. When he's sitting there saying, he says this great thing, like, you're coming back, right? Like, puts his heart out, you know, there. Like, I really feel like I might lose you again. Like, why does she not go and like wrap her arms around his head, like him put his forehead to her belly, like something sweet, like just anything to like be touching one another? And they didn't touch, and they weren't affectionate. And that would have really helped to make the whole episode feel more realistic, I think, to where they are.
We have some good comments from the YouTube chat and also on Twitter. But Anna Louder said, I mean, okay, couldn't they have cut some of the undressing from the last episode to lay the groundwork for this episode? I mean, and then why do we need 10 minutes of it never fucking happened surgery, Andrea says. And then Mickey, to save the guy who tried to rape and kill her was stupid. Like, actually, there's somebody who's been tweeting us, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name because it's totally buried in the That's Normal feed. I'd have to sign into my personal to see it, and I can't do that right now because I'm managing too many things. That is a book reader, and I know you said you watch live. Please message us either on the feed, say me or something, so I know it's you, because I want to hear some perspectives there, because I think we want to know. I always say, I'm sorry, not a book reader. Did I say that?
She's just a show watcher. It's like a Mira or something like that. I'm sorry, okay. That's probably not it.
I think she is in here. That may be her. She's the one who just said, no, that was Mickey. Never mind. Yeah, it might be something with an M. So I'm so sorry we can't remember your name, but please let yourself be known, because I want to hear what you thought about this. Because again, we're coming at this as a perspective that's like not fair half the time. But to be fair, in our defense, we get really critical like majority of the time. Like this episode, I mean, and it does say something when like our entire like reviewer crew, like, this was just like boring. Like, I don't know what to talk about it. And you can't have a win for everything. That doesn't have to happen, but it just felt like some, thank you, Beth. Beth just told me her name. It felt a little, I don't know. And about as boring as my last sentence.
just do 15-second over, but like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, there's just a lot of like stuff that we don't really need, and you wonder like when they're sitting there in the writer's room breaking episodes, it's like, well, we got to make sure that we get in young Ian getting deflowered. Why? Like, why is that necessary? What?
Is that why?
Do they?
Like, it's a moment. I mean, a certain level of fans that like lives and breathes this. Like, is that something that they want? I mean, is that like we would have been disappointed if we never saw that? I'm saying the royal we here, not actually meaning the three of us sitting here, or even like.
Is it? I mean, I know we hear about it in the book, but it's not like we're not getting his perspective at that point. So it could have been implied, I think, rather than shown for the amount of minutes it was shown.
But it was actually one of the better parts of the episode.
Oh yeah,
so like,
in context,
yeah. Weighing a feather against a heart there, but like, I there are things that I think that they should not have done in this episode, and I'll just, other than Jamie and Claire not like connecting physically, and I don't mean that they needed to have sex in this episode. I just mean they needed to be touching one another instead of fighting with each other. I don't think that we needed to have Claire save this particular guy in this particular moment to show that she's like a doctor and still a doctor and all of that kind of stuff. And that stuff's important to her.
Being a doctor.
Yeah. It just wasn't necessary. It was gross. This isn't what happens in the book, and there are going to be other opportunities for her to help someone. So I really could have done without all of that. And and a lot of people could, and we're all just kind of like wondering what is going on with how they put episodes together. This felt like a season 2 episode where they focus on things that don't matter and miss out on the things that do. But I don't really know what I would have done differently. Other than have Jamie and Claire like not, it was more a character choice. I feel like the character choices in this episode were wrong, not necessarily the plot movement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than
it felt like something.
Go ahead.
No, I just felt like something was like off between characters, or between specifically Jamie and Claire, which is really the thread that binds everything. Like just something was just not. Looked and was like, what is the director? Was it somebody new? But it wasn't.
I looked up the writer. I think she was new to Outlander.
Or maybe it was a writing.
The director was Norma Bailey. I think she directed, did she direct the last episode too?
She directed the big sex one, I think, yeah.
Okay. Julie, she's on Twitter, just said that Ian not being a virgin is what saves him later on from something else that's about to happen. I think I don't really remember that him not being a virgin was. I don't think I think he still is in danger from my remembrance.
Well,
like
I don't remember that. Because it's been forever since I read it, but I just retweeted that and I said they could have just implied him losing his virginity. I think that's our point. Like, okay, maybe there is a reason he has to lose his virginity and you have to like discuss it, but like, do we have to have seen it? Like, could they have just saved 10 minutes and had a short little scene that puts him in the place when the print shop's burning down, and that drawn out and long. Yeah. Besides the fact that it was one of the better parts of the episode. I'm complaining about something that I didn't mind, but also it took away from other things that probably could have used more time.
I would have liked to see more of like Jamie Roy, like that aspect of like Jamie being at the docks. Like the smuggling aspect is kind of cool when he's in the brothel. And that's like why my tagline is innocent local panderer, because I like that, like that insouciant like way Jamie has when he's in the brothel and he's pretending that that's just like where he lives and he's just doing his thing. Like he's just being kind of a lech or whatever. And he has this, real cavalier attitude when he's faced with Sir Percival or whatever, and he's in the brothel. Like I like that, watching that Jamie, because he's probably had to play that role a whole lot before Claire popped back into his life. And I like seeing it because it's so different than, dutiful, honorable Highlander. And I would have liked to see more of that. I feel like this episode would have been a lot cooler if instead of fighting with Claire and all being contained in the brothel and then lying to Ian and all of that, like show us more of like smuggler Jamie. Although he did do a good deal of like moving casks or whatever, but like I think it would have been cooler like if we had just seen him having to evade the law a little bit more in less of a douchebag way and more of a kind of like cool, Han Solo way.
We have I'm sorry, did anybody have any comments on that? I think you're right, Beth.
I was just gonna say regarding Jamie, I remember reading the books. I remember at this part being really annoyed with him because, they were fighting and he's acting very strangely and he has a secret, but you don't know what that secret is. But I think in the show, they're taking it just a little bit too far. Like, just all of his reactions to things Claire said, even when he's like, oh, you're still a stubborn woman. It wasn't in an endearing way. I just felt like they were both just too annoyed with each other. And it wasn't the right kind of drama to have.
Agreed.
There's some exciting things happening because we have non-book readers on Twitter and on the chat, and I'm trying to look at them both, and this is totally confusing me, but I think we're gonna have some really great perspectives here. So Amira is the girl that we were talking about before that we forgot her name. So welcome, Amira. Thanks for listening.
I got it right, by the way.
You did get it right. I'm sorry. You did get it right. I got it wrong. Beth said, or she said, I agree with Beth. The episode was lacking. It was like they were following script directions instead of feeling that she needed more intimacy, which is, I think I totally agree with that. And then over on the live chat on the YouTube, how do you say her name? I'm going to say this wrong. Kara, Caira. Actually, I have no idea how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. Anyway, she said she figured out Jamie was married when he asked for Ned, which I thought was interesting.
Huh.
Because, that was great. That's great sleuthing. Because obviously I knew he was married, but he says it at the end. And the way he said it was like, it was so casual. Like, did people miss that?
I don't think people missed it. I don't think people missed it. Okay. But let's just talk about that really quickly. We are going to talk about some other stuff. Dee wants us to talk about the random scenes of the foyer of fornication, which we'll definitely get into. But like, the first time I read Voyager, and I've said this before when we've talked about just the series in general, and the scene where Jamie's other wife, which we won't spoil it, I guess, because there are non-book readers that, don't know how to have, but in the book, the scene where that is revealed, literally, I threw my book across the room. I was livid, so much so that like my heart was pounding and I was like sweaty and I was mad at Jamie and like I was feeling.
You know who he's married to, which we don't know.
Right, you don't know that in the show, but like I had a visceral, physical reaction to the reveal of Jamie's other wife, and the fact that had happened and he had not told Claire. Like it was real. They completely took that shock away from viewers with Fergus just saying his other wife. And I think that they alluded to it too much as well. Like if you picked it up with the Ned Gowan thing, good for you. I would not have done that as a viewer, I don't think, because I don't pick things up like that. That's fine. I don't think that particular line gave it away. I think that Ian bringing it up and then young Ian looking kind of like sideways at like, you're my aunt? Are you sure? Like... And then of course, like Fergus just giving it away. Why did he say that? Why didn't they just say, "Oh, she still doesn't know. You haven't told her yet"? Like, okay, why?
Right. It took away the power of it a little bit.
Yes, and it's definitely going to be next week's episode, and I think that that's part of it. They had to like the title of next week's episode is "The Other Wife" or "Honorable Wife." I can't remember which one, but it
The other wife, the second, it's something.
It's the other wife.
Yeah, you're right.
And so I feel like maybe they had to give it away in dialogue because they titled it that, but don't title it that. Like, come up with something else. So I was just
first wife. Thank you. That's what it is.
First wife. I was just pissed. I'm just pissed. And
Kara, again, maybe you can tell us how to pronounce her name so I can stop saying it wrong, but Ciara, Caira. I'm sure it's something so simple. This is like when we first talked about Katrina being, Kara, Katrina being cast, and Beth and I didn't know how to say her name.
Catriona.
Catriona. I think it's funny. She said, oh no, maybe I actually didn't mean to read one of yours. Oh, I didn't, but thank you for commenting anyway. Jade, at one point on this chat said, why can't they keep a fucking secret? It bothers me. And then I asked her to expand on that. Who do you mean? And she said, the show, they leave no surprises. So she said that as you were kind of talking about that, Beth.
Yeah.
Like talk about a shock and reveal. Like, do we need a quick rape threat at the end of an episode? Like, no, let's leave that last 10 minutes with like, that's when you can reveal it. And then let us sit there and stew for a week about like, what? He did what?
Yeah.
Well,
instead of probably revealing it in the first 10. Go ahead, Emily.
This is one of those, there's not very many, I don't think, in this series. There's a couple, but this is one of the major moments where, like you said, you want to throw your book. It's, when you started book 2 and you're like, what the fuck? Who are these people? Where's Claire and Jamie? And this moment where you're like, I can't believe he would do that. Who is this person?
Yes.
So for them to just throw that away as a throwaway line from Fergus is just, it's not a smart way to, there's so many other options that you could have done or make it a shock. I feel like everybody else who didn't read the book deserves to have that thrown at them like we did.
Right, because they've been spoiled about so many other things. Sorry. By like all of us. But there's a lot of people agreeing with just that throw the book across the room moment. But that's just lacking. I see that on all the tweets. There's a couple people there.
And that goes back to the fact that the writers, they're in the writers' room, they treat us like it's a show on the CW. Like we can't figure out suspense, and we don't know anything about tension, and we can't get foreshadowing, and everything has to be explained to us in voiceover. Like, there are adults watching this show. It's not a bunch of like 11-year-olds who need it spelled out for them. This isn't shadow hunters. Like we get it.
If I read all the books, I think I can understand a TV show.
And that's the point. Even the ones who haven't read books, like, why do they spell everything out for everybody? Like in glaring neon letters. Look at Jamie, watch the print shop burn. He's sad. It's so ridiculous. We're not idiots.
Anna Serene said earlier when we first started talking about, especially at the end of the episode when they explain to us why Jamie needs to leave, like we're idiots and can't figure it out on our own. Like hitting us over the head.
Taking forever, Jamie giving Fergus, like, show them fucking leaving the city. Like, totally. Keep the action moving. It's such a drag. It's a drag. It drives me insane.
And then again, my tagline tonight is, actually I can't read it because it's backwards, but something about the one time I wanted a voiceover, and I can't remember. I think it was during it was when he was visiting when she was like seeing her patient, the mentally ill woman. Like there's something going on there that I'm apparently supposed to know, but that's like the one time I could have used Claire to say, and I was thinking about how this woman who is mentally ill is going to ruin of town, or whatever the hell she was thinking, because I didn't know. I actually didn't know what her long gazes on this poor woman. Was she just feeling bad for her? Like I actually don't. I guess I'm asking, unless it's really important, then we're going to find out when they do season 9. Maybe don't tell me, but.
I'll put it this way. I know this character. Like I know they don't do this this isn't who they are in the books. In the book, Archie Campbell is like a pastor, and he came across, and he hates the Jacobites. He's like super hateful because he fought for the British, and his sister was like raped and left on the side of the road by some Highlander. This girl Margaret. And so he found her. He's having to like raise her because their parents died, and he's like really resentful, and he blames everything on the Jacobite rebellion and everything. So he's like hates all of them, and he ends up getting like a position with these missionaries in the West Indies, and he's leaving and taking his sister there. And his sister is crazy. Her part is correct, except she hasn't been like that since birth. She was like that from since she got attacked around Culloden. And so essentially Archie Campbell is like a Jack the Ripper kind of character that you find out about later on at the end of the book, like in the West Indies. So like they didn't say anything about him.
I remember. I vaguely remember that now.
He's like
is he also a character on Riverdale? Is that the guy's name on Riverdale as well? Archie Campbell? Yeah. It's also okay. Yeah. But Archie Campbell.
He's the murderer in Riverdale, and he's the one who killed Jason Blossom, and he's the Edinburgh fiend. But like you don't see any of that in this. I don't know why they're fortune tellers and why that matters and why that's something she's going to be paying attention to. So without them talking about the Edinburgh fiend, without them talking about the fiend, his character's just going to kind of like breeze by, I guess.
Is this when it happened in the books? Like, is this timeline correct? When she met them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think so.
Remember any of this.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, she comes across them again in Paris, and then again in the West Indies. Spoilers. They're going to see each other again in another country.
Spoilers, they're going to America.
Yeah. Voyager. But that's where it happens. But like they talk about the fiend while she's in Edinburgh. I think, pretty sure. And so he has context. He has no context in this episode. And I'm assuming they're not staying in Edinburgh at the beginning of the next one, so I don't know where that context is going to come from.
Right. I just think you should know that there's a really special tweet. There's a special Twitter emoji when you type #Riverdale.
What is it?
Love it. Everybody should know. It's just like the R from the high school. Does anybody watch Riverdale?
I've
Great
seen
show.
that.
Yeah, we could just talk about that for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. Let's just talk about how we could talk about how Outlander has a new hashtag for every every episode, and that's dumb. You guys could get a dedicated hashtag.
Yeah.
You could have a really cool Outlander hashtag with a cool little picture, and it could be that for every episode, and then people would know what to talk about instead of having to like waste all of their quippy, cool 140 characters on a hashtag for Outlander and a hashtag for whatever your episodic hashtag is. Dumb, dumb, dumb. If you've gotten this far in our complaint about your episode, that's my biggest complaint.
Someone's on fire.
Let's talk about Dee's question about the foyers of fornication. Do in brothels, like they just do it out there in the middle of, they don't have to go back into rooms. They just are fornicating all over the benches and in the mudrooms and shit.
Emily knows. Emily's going to
Yes, I've been there.
You've been to a bunch of 18th century brothels?
None of them, you know.
I feel like that is how they always portray them. Don't you?
Just because
don't you think that they only portray them so that people will be titillated?
I feel like they're doing it because, again, they think we're stupid. They're like, here we are in a brothel.
Reminder. Yeah.
And
true.
I feel like Jamie would be scandalized by bare breasts around just hanging out. And I realize that I can hear Karen right now going, he's 20 years past that innocent boy who hadn't like gone that far, whatever. He's not a virgin anymore. I know. He's like calloused and hardened and he doesn't care about the boobs. I still think as scandalized as he was about Brianna's bikini, and then he says, whores don't even go around in the like. He is literally just come up from the foyer of fornication where all the boobs were in his face. And the actual doing it was in his face. And yet he's still upset about Bree's bikini?
Yeah,
I think not.
I was thinking. Yeah.
I think not. Those two things do not fit together.
No, I totally agree. Like him getting upset. I mean, okay, it's his daughter, blah, 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 whatever. He just like is casually fine around. Yeah, you're right. I can hear Karen in our head too. But I do think that he has like this innocence about him that like, yeah, it just felt a little... here's why they probably did that, and this is a conversation that I had with some people that know other shows that are happening. Like Stars is supposed, like they intentionally push the boundaries, and they like think that they need to in ways that their audience expects, like a certain level of nudity and the crassness and like realness, and that is actually something that they believe. And I sort of just argue like, no, we don't. Like, I think I expect with any, premium cable that they're not like fading to black, like in the CW, but do I need Claire's like fully like bared chest like it was last week for 10 minutes? No, I think what I expect from premium cable is like if they're having sex, a breast might show because they moved in such a way that they're not like having to cover it up in this awkward way. That's what I expect. And so I think that comes from like this sort of mentality on this channel and others that you need to have nudity and sex and stuff that's sexy and pushing those boundaries every time, which is just, it feels like an old Harvey Weinstein mentality that they just need to let go of. Like, make it obvious they're in a brothel. Have a bunch of women with their breasts bearing out, like whispering sweet nothings into gross men's ears. We get it. Opinion.
Yeah, and again, like I said this last week about the reunion sex, like their actual time together is like the first time together is like kind of under the covers in the book, and it's really sweet, and they're kind of like just exploring one another. And like, why did we need her to stand there naked for a good 5 minutes and let him look at her? Like, that isn't what we needed to see.
People pay good money for that kind of shit. I mean, that's literally what I think that they think.
Isn't this show, everybody's been raving about how it's from the female gaze? So as a female, I don't really want to see her weird aged boobs,
No,
I don't want to see anybody's boobs.
No, I really don't. I don't need...
It makes me uncomfortable. And I don't say that like as a prude. On this show, it makes me uncomfortable. And I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
I like that every time somebody says like ass or boob in the chat, the chat hides it and I have to like approve the message. all you dirty people. So I just had to approve that message. Andrea said, okay, Becca, don't give him a reason not to show Jamie's ass. Or
No,
yeah.
do more of that, but
yeah, and I think that's what I mean about it. Like, I am fine with like the nudity and like the realness of the sex. Cause like, let's be honest, when you're watching sex on, I can't even think of another show because they don't do it on Riverdale, which is the only other show I'm watching right now. But like,
they had sex on Mindhunter, the first several episodes of
Sure. Mindhunter. It was Netflix. They saw his ass in the air a lot more. I needed to see her chest, but that felt more appropriate. But like, I would say like they have sex on Nashville. Does that show still on? Do they have sex on, they've had sex on like the Gossip Girl. They've had like these hot little sexy young teen scenes. And obviously, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Yeah. Yes, I just watched an episode of that. Great idea. Great show. And they don't, they're there and like it's sexy. It could be sexy and hot and they're not showing this stuff. Like I do expect Cable's gonna like not worry if the sheet falls off her back and the side of her boob showing and like, oops, her nipple popped out. And like his ass just showed because he turned and it felt like a natural sex position. Like that is what I expect from those Cable. Like I know they're gonna do that, right? Because they can, but like giving us this gratuitous, like I don't know. Are we crazy? Like anybody disagree with us? Like obviously everybody wants to see Jamie's ass. Like we know
I don't.
A bunch of horny ladies on the internet. But like but that aside, like that's ha ha ha. We can laugh about that. Are you gonna die if you don't see Jamie's ass in this show? Like are we crazy? Are we prude?
I mean, there's nudity in this show that I think has been done like super well, right? Like I'm going to be really weird and say that time that Blackjack is about to rape Jenny and we see Tobias's penis, that is a good use of full frontal nudity. Like there's a reason, there's like a character reason for that. And it was well used and that's fine. I loved the Jenny when she's nursing, like that little rig up that they had going on. Like there's good usage of nudity. And even like in the Jamie and Blackjack and Wentworth scenes, like they're good reasons to use the nudity that they've used. And then there's times like the sex scenes last week that it's just dumb. And then in this, just with the brothels, a lot of brothel boobs it's like the sex position that they talked about with Game of Thrones, where they're just, two whores going at it in the background while they talk about something else. That's not what this show is. And actually in this episode, the scene where Jamie comes down and talks to Sir Percival, and there's a girl in an alcove like riding a dude. It is almost like shot for shot the way some of those scenes with Littlefinger's brothel in Game of Thrones, like in the second season, like that's exactly what it looked like. The ones where they were talking about how it was sex position and he's just like talking about something else and there's sex going on. It looked just like that. It's like in a little alcove, the same kind of like colors and everything. And I was like, what did they do? Just decide that they were going to do the exact same thing that they saw on Game of Thrones and put it in, but not for as long or whatever. It was just so dumb. And it's not conducive to Jamie's character. I don't care how hardened you think he is after 20 years. He's still scandalized by stuff like that. He's still a papist. He's still like believes in doing the right thing. And as far as we know, other than the other wife, whoever she may be, and Geneva and Mary McNabb, he's not like having sex with a ton of people. So he would be scandalized by that. Yes, he's living there, but that doesn't mean it's in his face that way where he can just like act like it's not happening. They didn't have porn back then. They saw some boobs. They were like ready for it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So there's some good comments. I think people are agreeing. Julie said she needs boobs to get her husband to watch. Although somebody over on Twitter said, let's be honest, I lost all the husbands at the end of season 1. We don't need the boobs anymore. And
very true.
Well, Outlander hasn't watched in a while.
He didn't watch the end of season 1 yet, so he doesn't know what's right. For.
That's true. Mickey said time would be much better spent with the intimacy, the touching, talking, less on the brothel skin. People are saying Jamie's ass got more time than Jon Snow. Somebody said, to be honest, I'd rather see Jon Snow's ass. Then how can he get all jazzed about a bikini and live in a brothel? They're talking about Ian would be scandalized, and he didn't really see, he didn't seem to think it was that odd that he's seeing his... We didn't really talk about that yet.
Why wouldn't they like meet Ian in like a private quarter? Like, does this brothel not have like a like an area where there aren't boobs. Like you walk in and there's like a parlor, like a boob-free parlor.
I'm surprised too that he makes it known to his family that he lives in a brothel. I feel like Jenny would not be cool with that. And I don't remember if that's how it was in the books or not, but just the fact that Ian's showing up, oh yeah, just he lives in the brothel, no big deal. You know, that's
Well,
Jamie.
I mean, maybe they don't know that, and Ian's had to like ask around to find him. You know, I mean, maybe. I'd believe that, but I still don't think that they should like go down and meet him. And Claire and Jamie just brings his wife into this foyer with a bunch of tits hanging out. This is not something that's happening. But let's talk about Ian if we're going to talk about him for a minute, because Stephen Creme.
Before we get there, can we just talk one more second about this, like boobs, ass, nakedness? Because somebody, Julie, are you talking to us on both places? Girl, good job. Anyway, she said, yes, they want to attract male viewers. And I think we should start to revolt about that kind of thing, right? We're in this world of post-Weinstein, or trying to be. Like, I am all about the women's forum. I love it. I think it's beautiful. It could be on TV. It doesn't offend me, this or that. But like, that's why we're doing it, to attract male viewers. We need to have a problem with that. This is supposed to be some female feminist show. We need to have a problem with the fact that they're just putting nudity in there to attract male viewers. Because let's be honest, why else are they doing it? It's not for us. Anyway,
and I continually think about like the extras who are doing that. Like,
right.
They're just sitting there naked, and like, how is that conducive to like a perfectly, like, you're perfectly fine, like that's your day, that's your work day, right? It's your boobs in Sam Heughan's face. Camera. That's your work day. I'm not for that. I would be against that.
No, I'm not. I just got really mad. I'm not watching this anymore. Oh, thank God.
What we need is Katie Grace to come give us a good smackdown on the female gaze and why we don't need any more boobs in Outlander.
Yeah, that's good. That would be good. Katie Grace, be your reason to write about Outlander again. Catch up this season. Okay, sorry. Moving on.
Let's talk about Stephen Creme, because I mean, there's not much to say other than I thought that he was fantastic in this episode, in the small scene that he had. His face when he saw Claire was like this perfect mixture of like shock and grief and longing and surprise and relief. It was just everything. You could see everything. He had these beautifully unshed tears, and it was in such stark contrast to how Jamie's been acting with her, even though she hasn't been there 24 hours yet, that it really like just foiled for me like how crappy Jamie was this episode, for Ian to be so overcome. Thoughts?
It was, as Sierra said, I figured out how to say her name, by the way. Somebody helped me. It's Sierra. Ian said, asking about his son and crying over Claire, and then those damn sex sounds. That was weird.
Yeah.
Like, really. Like, what a beautiful moment. Like,
awful.
But anyway, yeah, he did a great job, and also he looked really good. I know that's really superficial to say, but like, I don't mean like he's a very handsome man, but like his character aged looks great, and yeah, it was believable. You're right. It was just a very stark contrast to Jamie, and it's only been 24 hours. We're supposed to believe that?
Literally, that has to be it. Because she came, they went back to the brothel, they did it.
She came again.
She came again. The next morning he leaves and she gets up and goes down and has brunch with the girls. She comes back up to the room and that's when the guy is there. It has been less than 24 hours. I mean, from the reunion to the end of this episode, maybe 36 hours, maybe. She still has jet lag, essentially what's going on. So, yeah, it's been no time at all. And
she hasn't even had a poop yet. She hasn't even had her first Scottish poop.
That's right. That is awful.
That is awful. Think about having to poop in the Scottish Highlands without a toilet or toilet paper.
Or just how difficult it is to go to the bathroom, like to poop when you're traveling, like when you're on vacation, like traveling at all. You're like, I can't do it in the airport bathroom. Somebody will hear me. I can't do it on the airplane. That's impossible. Can't do it when I get there because I have somewhere to be, and then I'm in a hotel room with like friends. I can't poop in here, so you like don't poop for a week.
Right. When you're sleeping with someone new, even worse.
Yeah. So like imagine, you do it, but you're time traveling and meeting your long lost husband that you haven't seen in 20 years. When are you going to poop?
And there's no working toilets.
What? Outlander said the hotel lobby bathroom. What if it's the 18th century?
I've done that one.
She's going to go down to the foyer of fornication and ask where the good pooping room is.
Those ladies will tell her. They know.
They will. They have a privy just for girls who have traveled through time and really, really need to go. Oh, gosh. So let's talk about Fergus and Ian, because they were the other saving graces of this episode. Fergus, I could talk about him for days. I think he's perfect.
Yeah.
I really think he's perfect. Like, I'm so enamored with him, and I haven't been super enamored with Roger. I think he's fine. He doesn't do anything for me. Like, I think he's okay. Bree's the worst. Mr. Willoughby, I think, is great, but like Fergus is this perfect little and like encapsulation of what I think Fergus should be like. I love his accent. I think that he looks like a grown-up Roman Baru, or however you say his name. I love it. I think he's great. I could watch him all day.
How old is he?
I have no idea. Fergus is supposed to be 30.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Fergus, the person, is supposed to be 30.
He doesn't look 30.
No, he doesn't.
That's crazy. 30. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. He's been around forever.
Forever.
It's been 20 years, and like if he's supposed, 10-ish, maybe 12-ish, like in Culloden or whatever. So yeah, he's supposed to be 30.
Yeah, look, Sierra feels like a perv crushing on Fergus. I don't know if you should feel like a perv, Sierra. I think he's of age. I mean, I don't know his real person. Is he really? Is he young in real life?
I don't know. Young Ian, however, I'm not crushing on. I think that his actor-wise, he's fine. I don't think he's particularly cute.
He looks like a duck. And I really want to love him because I love young Ian, and it's just I can't see it. Like, you're too short, you look like a duck. You're a good actor. I believe the character, but I hope he gets older or something.
I don't know. I never thought, especially what happens.
I think he's supposed to be like unconventionally cute, but he is just like a pale duck.
Yeah,
I think that he looks believably like a Scottish 15-year-old to me. And so
agree.
So I'm fine with it, and I don't really I like I said in my recap that he's like number 2 in the Scottish Highlanders that we romanticize, because I think that he does get over romanticized because of what happens to him. I think that later on, book 4, young Ian, he'll look so different, I think, after what happens to him, that maybe that some of that will come out, some of that rugged, like romanticized part of him will show. And right now he's supposed to look innocent and a little green and a little,
There's
new.
time.
Yeah. So, but regardless, I think he doesn't look anything like I think young Ian looks like, but I believe him as that character, and I'm fine with it. And I think he's doing a great job. He's so cute and earnest.
As a side note, Cesar is 27 in real life. So
thank you, Diana Anderson.
Yeah.
She just tweeted us that too.
This is kind of jumping off topic or going back to another one, but Therese Ann says that regarding the no touching that was in your top 10, there was touching scripted and was cut. Who's editing this shit? She says.
That's what happens.
Scripts are the writers just like sending pieces of their scripts every week because they're pissed about the editing.
Yeah, what if that's like the most super passive aggressive move that they can do? They're just like, fuck this shit. And they just start, and that's why we're getting, because I said last week, I think it was dumb that she put that Meryl put out that piece of script.
Oh,
like, don't put that up. Don't tweet pieces of the script. People are just going to pour over that shit and get pissed at whatever they didn't see or what they did see or how you wrote it or if you misspelled somebody's name. Don't put that up there. But like, what if they're doing it to be like passive aggressive at like whoever's
That's
editing?
That's what it feels like.
That's so great. That's hilarious.
Like there's some fight happening. Yeah,
when
it's great.
They did it last week, Sam responded. He was like, I made the choice, blah, blah, blah.
And then they had to say that we're not saying it was an acting problem. Like there's definitely something happening behind the scenes, like 100%.
They're just bored and want some drama.
Yeah. Speaking of behind the scenes, can we go with like the rumor that we heard and see?
I think so. She didn't say we couldn't.
Okay, guys.
If we're just crazy.
We won't say where we heard this. But did you guys know that Matt and Meryl are dating? Matt B. Roberts and Meryl are a couple. Is that a thing that other people know? And if so, is that why this season sucks? Because they can't tell each other no? That he's like, we're gonna do this, and she's like, no. Like last season, she's like, no, we're not doing that. That's dumb. And now she can't do that because like he'll withhold or something in bed. What is going
That's
on?
why she's tweeting the shit. Yeah.
I want to know if
Yeah. Tell
other
us
people
if we're
know about
crazy.
this.
We're waiting.
Dee
We're just
says Dee says they release the script every week on the Star sites. The whole thing,
the whole script.
Why?
or just bits and pieces for fun? Because, like, yes, you can give away like little sheets, but I don't think they should give any of it away because it gets
I thought Matt was gay.
people
So
just people just use those things to like wipe their ass with, and then they show it to everybody on Twitter. They're so mad at those script sheets. They shouldn't show those anymore. Okay, Jamie said that she thinks Matt and Meryl have been together since season 1. That blows my theory out of the water about why some of the changes in season 3 suck. But they've been together that long and we didn't know it.
And people are like, Matt's not gay? On the other chat.
Oh gosh, I never thought he was gay. I just thought he was an asshole.
Andrea said the whole script. That is the most insane thing I have ever heard.
Why is that necessary?
That you would release your whole script.
We still only have 11 chapters of Midnight Sun. Why are we getting every script of Outlander? I'm against this.
Oh my gosh.
I'm against this.
It does explain season 2, Amy. Amy Johnson said maybe that explains season 2. If they got together in season 1, because Matt started, when does he become the showrunner? Or is he not technically the showrunner?
He's not technically the showrunner. Ron still is. But like if you watch
But Ron's
those,
not there.
I know.
Is
And
he?
if you watch those like behind the scenes things that they do after the episodes, it's like Ron and Ron, shut up. Ron and Tony and Matt are sitting there talking about the episode, and Tony and Matt are just telling Ron what happened. And he's like, "Oh, that sounds fun." And he's like, "The only thing he knows, the only thing he knows anything about is the costumes. That's it. That's because that's what he has to talk about at the dinner table. The rest of the time, he's like, he has no idea what's going on. So like, he's not there.
He's probably in LA, yeah.
Like season 1, he was always there.
Yeah, after this episode, he's like, "Oh, how'd you guys do that fire thing?" It's like, you weren't involved at all? That seems like a big
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
You think there'd be discussion in production? Go ahead, what?
Purely Amused on Twitter just said, how would any woman, talking about Meryl and Matt, let her man have that awful facial hair? How could he be dating a woman?
There's also the best comment over on the YouTube chat from Kristen. A leaked Breaking Dawn script ended up being a virus that wiped my computer clean. No more scripts for me. I'm so sorry, Kristen. That's terrible.
That is the Twy Dork of the Day award right there.
Yes.
Oh, I miss Twy Dork of the
Emma,
Day.
good question. What is Ron doing now if not working on the show? Who knows?
I don't know. That other show that he had like didn't even last a full season. That Antarctica one. I don't know what it was. But I don't know what he's doing. I think season 3 has not been bad, you guys. It's not that it's bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just this episode.
It's hard to understand some of the choices they make when it really, really changes the characters. I don't care if they change the plot. They could stay in Edinburgh for the rest of the season. I don't give a rat's. I just want Jamie to be awesome. And I want, I want them to have this, and I want the surprises and the cool things that made me fall in love with the books and maybe have like real reactions to them. Those things to stay and to be there. Like I said a million times, you could change up big things and I'd be fine with that. But I want to have the same reactions. I want people watching to care. I want the show to be good on its own without the book.
Yeah.
Make that happen.
I also am not interested in watching an 18th century medical drama, which is hopefully not what happens. I understand Claire's a doctor and that's a really big part of her life, but I don't really need to see her drilling into some guy's brain every episode.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
That doesn't bother
find
me.
one, and that's why they don't exist. I don't think.
I don't. That doesn't bother me. But when Willoughby or Tai Chincho or whatever his name is says, "Won't this kill him?" and she goes, "No, the pressure in his brain will." I wanted to go, except yeah, this is going to kill him because you're in the 18th century, you dumbass. Like he's going to get a huge whole infection, or he's never get that wound is never going to heal. Something's bad is going to happen. Like he's not going to make it. But
Anna said she did admit that she swooned when Jamie jumped down to the floor of the burning building like barons in Dark Fever. We're like getting all our favorite fandoms out tonight.
oh, that's so much better than saying it's like a superhero jump. That is lovely. What a great image. It was like Barons. Oh, good job, Anna. That's excellent. Now I'm going to go reread that book tonight after I finish my dragon shifter porn. Someone says, Diana said, do we think we should have broken up into 2 seasons? No, I don't think so. I do not dislike the way things have been broken up, other than the episode 5 where we got no Jamie and it was just Claire being ridiculous in Boston. I think that they should have done something else there. I don't dislike how they've broken it up. I just dislike some of, like this episode and a little bit in the last one, just some of the ways that they thread the bigger arcs through the season. Like, what story are you telling? Like, when you watch a season of Black Sails, for instance, the season is telling a story throughout the whole thing. There are things that you're not learning about characters in the first 4 episodes that are gonna explode in the last 2, right? That is not the case on this show. There's no impetus to keep watching. I read a book once called On This Island or some shit, and it was like this self-published, phenomenon or whatever, and like everybody was reading it. It was this great love story, and it's basically this woman gets trapped on this island with this teenage kid who has braces, but they fall in love or something. And every chapter was like a shark came into their lagoon, they killed the shark, they went to bed, everything was fine. The next day, she ran out of shampoo, they found soap berries and everything was fine at the end of the chapter. Like every chapter was like a thing that happened, and then by the end of the chapter it was taken care of. And the only overarching arc was they're on an island, will they ever get rescued? It didn't matter because there was I didn't care if they ever got rescued. It didn't matter. They could have lived there forever because she had like a ton of soap in her suitcase that happened to wash up on the shore. So like it didn't matter. And that's what the show is like. It doesn't matter what the overarching conflict is. It doesn't matter what the arc of the season is because everything is kind of taken care of in each episode. And even when it isn't, I don't care. Because they did something manipulative to get me to that point. I don't care about the guy that ran in and grabbed Claire in her room and is going to rape her because it was contrived and it's overdone. And that whole thing is beleaguered. Yeah. We've seen it a million times. So it doesn't matter. And like this, like her having to leave Edinburgh and like because of young Ian, he's got to go back with his family. I mean, it's contrived. Yeah. There's no reason. And then they give away the big secrets. Like, I don't want to get to the penultimate and the ultimate episodes. I don't care because you fix everything or you make everything like blasé. And that's the problem with the show. It's been the problems at least since season 2. And, I just want them to get better because I want the show to be good. And I don't know why it's not because the books are great. So why is the show so shit?
Well, I think there's a difference with reading. Like, let's think about how, Emily, how many books have you read?
I've read them all.
Not in your life of Outlander. Okay, of all of them. So the people who haven't, that I feel like have, and you probably read them, did you read them all like recently or have you been reading them for a long time?
I started maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, read them all, and then the last one came out and I read it when it came out. So all consecutively.
You read them pretty good. I don't know that that's super typical. I think the people who've read them all more than typically have been reading them for a long time. Like I haven't, because I feel like the people who binged them the way that we did when we discovered them, like stopped at a certain point when you can probably guess when we stopped, right? When it gets pretty monotonous, when we're really talking about the day in, day out of life. And that's what I feel like doesn't work. It doesn't necessarily work for me in the books, but it definitely doesn't work on TV. And that's kind of what we're seeing. I think sometimes we're seeing some of that like day in, day out that the fans a lot of people have been reading these books for a long time and love and want to see, because that's what they had. When you don't have a book for like 5 years, you're going to reread and like want to dig in and get all these little details. And I feel like that's what's happening sometimes on the show, is like we're getting lost in these things that really don't matter. Like that guy, whatever, Archikins Campbell, whatever the hell his name is, like he might matter, and like I can't remember why, and I don't really care in this moment because he's not prevalent to my life right now. But that could have been done in a way that was like that mattered, that happened quickly, and then was done, and we can remember it in 2 seasons or whenever it's going to come back again. But those kinds of things aren't happening. They're not making those decisions. That it's feeling just really disjointed. That's my biggest problem. And somebody said over here on the YouTube chat that they're like changing the core. It was Joni. They're changing the core of the 2 main characters. And that's what I think, Beth, your problem is. Like they're changing certain things about Jamie. They're changing. And that is why, despite all the frustrations, like we do watch and read the books, right? Because of Jamie and Claire. That's why we watch this. But yet, Jamie and Claire have not been the most interesting thing about the season thus far. That separately they have been, with other characters they have been, but together. But
yeah. And that's what sucks. Like when people get upset that you say that you really like the Frank scenes, well, that's because the conflict there is interesting, and the conflict here is less interesting because they should be tentative with one another and all of those kinds of things, but they shouldn't be hating one another. You can't even tell that they like each other. You certainly can't tell that they're the loves of each other's life. I mean, when Claire came back to Frank, there was less animosity for several episodes than there was when she came back to Jamie. I mean, think about it. When she came back to Frank, he's there with her. He's loving her. Like they're touching, and they kiss in the hospital when Bria's born. Like that first episode, they fight, but then they make up, and there's like love in it. And like they seem more in love than Jamie and Claire do. And in this episode, that's ridiculous. That shouldn't be like that at all. So yeah.
Anna says in the YouTube comments, much better than basically what I was trying to say, much better. They'll need to focus on the details of the book readers who only read the thing once or twice will never forget, and not on the unimportant details that people who haven't read in a while will notice. Like a goddamn adaptation, she says, an adaptation. Sorry, she like said that in caps. I think she said that a couple times throughout this chat, or somebody has. Adaptation, adapt it.
Yeah. I mean, Archie Campbell could have been a cool thing for them to focus on in this scene if they were going to bring him back up. Otherwise, why have him in this episode? But they didn't do anything with that, and so he's not suspenseful. He's just like a weird character that we had to watch for a few minutes, and he's super boring. I don't know. I think the rest of the season, I have high hopes for it, because I think that it's going to be more. It's more swashbuckling. There's more adventure. There's big conflict next week, and I'm going to go ahead and say, I think people will hate next week. I think next week will be the episode that everybody hates, and
Because
I have not
it's
seen.
so boring.
I haven't seen it.
Content?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, based on how they handle the themes that are going to be next week, the way they handle Jamie and Claire and the stuff that's going to happen in next week, I think everyone is going to hate it. I cannot imagine it coming out as being like, this was the best episode ever. But after that, it gets more adventure-y, and we'll see different things. It'll change. The show, the tenor of the show will change. So hopefully the rest of the season will be good. We'll see. Turtle soup is coming, guys. Turtle soup is coming.
Turtle soup.
And if anything,
that's hope.
We told them specifically before season 3 started in HangOutlander, we said, look, you change Geneva and you get rid of Willoughby, and both of those things, essentially,
they've done well.
They've done well on those things. So, okay, they listen to us to some degree.
I think they're having trouble. There are so many tributaries off of this main river of a story, and they're picking the wrong ones to focus on almost. Like, yes, we need to know who Archie Campbell is in a very small way, but we also don't need, you can't focus on 17 plots in one episode and then forget about the things that are important. So I just hope going forward they focus on the correct branches that they need to and cut away the fluff, because there's a lot of it. So
speaking of, because we just talked about,
I'm sorry. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to ruin your night. Heidi just said the same person who wrote this episode wrote the Turtle Soup episode.
Oh, fuck it.
All right, go ahead. What?
But okay, so Archie Campbell, you know how he's the fiend, and like later on you find out that he's the one who like I'm just gonna spoil some shit from the book. So like later on, Archie Campbell's like the one who isn't he the one who betrayed Jamie to Sir Percival? Like he's the one who gave him the information. Like why Sir Percival's actually looking for a seditionist in Edinburgh as well. Like he just doesn't know it's Jamie Roy, right? But like Archie Campbell betrayed him or something like that. I think. If I'm wrong, like, well, actually me to death, that's fine. I don't care. That's fine. But like, I think that's the case. So like, wouldn't it have been much cooler if like Archie Campbell had, the whores had talked about the Fiend, Archie Campbell had met Claire, somehow like maybe followed her because he's the fucking Fiend, and then like noticed, like found out about the sedition or whatever, and then like because he betrayed him, you know what I mean? Like he betrayed him to Sir Percival finds out there's sedition going on, but you don't know who betrayed him or whatever, and then like that's why they have to leave. Like wouldn't it have been much cooler if like that thread went all through this episode instead of it just being like random acts of like tons of different people? Wouldn't it be much cooler?
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Just saying.
But if
I don't get it.
Yeah, if he's important, make us know that he's important because, you know, especially if somebody read the book 20 years ago, unless they're rereading every year. Like, I don't remember who Archie Campbell is, and I read 3 years ago, so.
Right. Totally. Yeah, I think that's probably those moments feel super random and don't feel important at all. Like, remember when we saw the bones in the 60s?
Exactly, yeah.
How random that moment was. And like, I know that that's important, but I forgot. And it feels just like a weird, awkward thing that happened that like, and not in a way that it's going to happen. You're going to realize why you need to know that later and think, oh, that's why. That makes all that awkwardness better. Like, no, it doesn't. There's a way to do it where it's not awkward.
Yeah, it's never going to be a cool thing that fit together. It's never going to be that. It's never going to be like you're watching Orphan Black and it's something cool that fit together with something that happened earlier, like cool shows that have good writers. It's never going to be that. It's always going to be this awkward thing that they have to do in formally or previously on Outlander and remind you that it happened 4 episodes ago before you even realize that it did happen. It fucking sucks.
So Stars, like, they hate us, right?
No, they love us.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. Not every, obviously,
the same relationship we have with them.
Not every writer probably likes us. Not every actor probably likes us, but Stars likes us.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out tonight. We're going to pick our winner. We already did. I have my tweet ready to go. We are going to pick Amira tonight.
Amira.
Which is crazy because I did say we're going to give away this book. Amira, if you're not reading a book, actually, is this book okay to read if you're not a book reader?
I don't know.
No.
I didn't read it.
Okay, it's not. It's like a big spoiler. Okay, we'll give you something else. Anyway, I got to get more. Another week goes by. I have this damn book on my desk. I have 3 of them, guys. But yeah, Amira, please email us at admin@thats-normal.com with your address, and we will pick something out of our box of wonderful things. It may not be Outlander related unless you want it to be, to give to you. I'm going to tweet that right now.
Yay, Amira.
Yay. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out and letting us know your thoughts. Same thing with Sierra, who hasn't read the books, and I think there were a couple others on the chat. I'm forgetting your names. This chat is on fire. Thank you for chatting with us and using HangOutlander. And thank you so much, Emily, for joining us last minute.
Yes, and if you still have if you still have thoughts about this episode that you did not get out either on Twitter or tonight, and we did not talk about it, go back to the site that-normal.com. Go on the post and tell us all your thoughts there. I will be checking in and talking to you on that if you have more thoughts. I'm here for your thoughts. Talk about it next week.
Yay. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great night.
See you next week. We'll really hate